Bismillah, alhamdulillah, salatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. So, Sheikh Shinawy mentioned a lot of the beautiful proofs that I myself, struggled with a lot and relied on in increasing my iman in certain times and in debating with atheists and so on. But I wanted to tell a story that I myself went through a crisis of faith. Did I turn it off?
No, apparently you just have to be right about it.
All right. Yeah. So I was raised a Catholic, and when I turned about 13 or 14, I started getting into like punk rock music, and this was in the 80s, 86, something like that, and that has a lot of political and philosophical baggage that goes along with it, including anarchism and communism and socialism and that sort of thing. And so I fell into that, and I, believing that religion is the opium of the people. It's for suckers. It's for, it's just used by governments as a tool of control and so on and so on. But after about 5 or 6 years of being smarter than everyone else, I started realizing that I couldn't live without religion. I couldn't, and that I believed, something in me wanted to believe, But the problem is that having lost faith, it was sort of like I didn't really believe in God, but I wanted to believe in God, and I even walked by my old church, and tried the door to, but the door was locked, And I wound up meeting a guy in Denny's at 3 a.m. in the morning, my friend Farad, African-American brother, and this was 1992. And it was 3 a.m. in the morning, and my friend Chris and I were debating some aspect of, civil rights history or something. And so there's this African-American guy looking at us, these two white kids, and we're debating this, and he's like, so he said, why don't you come sit with me? So we went and sat with him, and it turned out it was Ramadan, and he was a Muslim, and he gave me we wound up becoming very close friends, and he gave me a copy of the Quran in English, the Yusuf Ali translation, and I read it, and I thought it was really beautiful, and but see, the problem still was that I really didn't, still didn't really believe in God anymore, and he used to debate with me about religion, and he'd say, don't you know that if you become Muslim, it's the best way of life, and it's and all, and it promotes cleanliness and order in your life, and intelligence, and it eliminates racism and all these things. And I was like, those are all really good arguments, but they're not really reasons to believe. They're just reasons why this is a good, system. But it's not like, So I didn't feel authentic and genuine in being a Muslim if I didn't really just believe in God. So one day we were in a park, and it was a beautiful day, and there was a bird singing in the tree, and he pointed to the bird and he said, "Do you see that bird?" He said, "That bird is a Muslim, because Muslim means one who does only what God wants it to do, and that bird is a servant of God. And you see the peace that bird has. You can have that too if you submit to God."
Man,
so,
that sounds mad incriminating. Stop it. Sorry.
Yeah, so there was something about what he said, and I'm looking at this bird and it's singing, and I said, no, it reminded me, right then I remembered that God existed. See, and that was the thing, it wasn't like that's not a logical proof or anything like that. What that is, that's something that touched my heart and awakened a memory in me that I knew that God existed. I knew it. It was no longer even a question of trying to convince myself of something. It was like, khalas, that was it. Now and then after I became Muslim very shortly after that. So I think this goes to what Sheikh Shinawy was talking about in terms of intuition. I mean, Allah has put knowledge in our hearts. He created us. He took every one of us out of the spine of Adam alayhi salam before we were born and before the world the rest of the world was created, and he had us testify to his existence. So therefore, really, what we're really doing when we look at these proofs and things is we're just looking for things to remind us of what we already know. And definitely, there's a reason why you can't do a mathematical equation or a scientific experiment to prove God's existence, because then it would be a very simple matter. It would just be like, it would just be like, here's this, and you would just have to be stupid if you or not able to follow such calculations or experiments to if you didn't believe in God. But it's upon every one of us to find that insight and clear away all of the accumulated ideologies and doubts and things that the modern world puts on us to delve deep and see that truth. Another thing that's really interesting, I was looking at this the book Talbis Iblis by Jersey, and this is a beautiful book that's like kind of analyzes all these different heresies, all these different astray groups. And at the time that he lived, he's devoting like huge sections of his book to like different sects that today really we don't even hear about anymore, like and also of course the Mu'tazila and so on and so on, the Khawarij. And his portion on atheism is like 2 paragraphs. Because of that, he basically is like, well, really this doesn't require much discussion because only idiots would think this. But since there are a few people who think this, then we'll he just in a perfunctory sort of dismissive way deals with it. And he mentions many of the proofs that the Sheikh was mentioning, and what that shows is that really atheism is a phenomenon of our modern age. It's a phenomenon related to the fact that we are now in an age where we're looking for salvation in this world instead of we're looking to the hereafter. It was very obvious to the people who lived before us the existence of God, but today it's something that is becoming a fog has descended over our eyes and over our minds and our ears. So, is that about it? Should I read that right now? Okay. So that's it. Oh, I just want to mention one more thing. I'm sorry. So another thing just to mention is that what the Sheikh said about not being able to prove things with scientific experiments. There was a famous saying that Khrushchev, who was the leader of the USSR, the Soviet Union, said when they had the first man go out into outer space, and it was the Soviet Union that did that. And when he came back, Khrushchev said, "Our man went out into outer space, and he didn't see God out there." So that's proof that you Americans, are wrong. And but the funny thing about that is that because Allah is not of the physical world, then it's obvious that you could go a million miles into space. And likewise, they said, as people said that, we've dissected the human body and we didn't find the soul anywhere. But that's because the soul is not from this physical world, So you can do science all you want, and you'll never be able to prove or disprove. And really, it's an assumption. You're making an assumption if you say that God does not exist. You are assuming something. Just in the same way that I'm assuming something when I say that God exists, you're assuming something when you say God does not exist. You have to do some kind of assumption. It's not like you who said that God doesn't exist is not doing any assuming. You are doing the assuming, and you can't prove that either. So you have to. So what you do is you test that assumption. What is the result of assuming that God does not exist? Well, then, as you said, that this is all just some colossal coincidence. As a matter of fact, why is there anything at all? Why isn't there nothing? Why is there something? And not only is there something, but there's this intricate, beautiful world. And so what flows from the assumption that God does not exist is absurd. Whereas what flows from the assumption that God does exist is a unitary, harmonious, rational way of looking at the world. So therefore, that's the only possible thing that could be. So I'm going to be.
Jazakallah khair, everybody. There's another session that needs to come into this room, so if you have any questions, please don't ask them to me. You can ask them to Ismail, but outside, inshallah. Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum.
I'm so happy you found us. I don't even know where these rooms are.
It's a great honor. I'm really humbled that you would be doing this.